You are listening to the Cattle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your old and tired, yet still somewhat mildly amusing host. And with me, as always, is my partner,
Rocco, the young and charming one.
But not amusing. And you know what that means? That means that we have to find the amusement by telling everybody the engineering joke of the week. All right, you ready for this one, Rocco?
I'm ready.
All right. Why do engineers get into the fewest number of fights?
Why?
Because they never argue with anyone. They just patiently explain why they're right. Oh, there you go. You ever deal with an engineer? That's absolutely true. They'll spend hours telling you why they're right, but never get mad. All right, folks. Enough of the bad jokes. So today we have a guest on the show. We have Tim Yarris, who is the Civil 3D product manager for Autodesk, back again. So Tim, thanks for coming back on the show, man.
Thanks for having me as always. It's great to be back.
Oh, you say that now, but by the time we get to the end of the show, you'll be talking different.
This is definitely a possibility. Yeah.
Just agree that I'm young and charming, Tim.
I agree. I have a frog in my throat. Okay. Alrighty. All right, folks. So it is that time of the year again, right? When the latest release of all the cool new Autodesk products have dropped. And Tim pops in to kind of give us all a heads up on all of the cool new features in the civil infrastructure tools. Look, for most of us, right, whenever this happens every year, this is kind of our version. We call it our professional Christmas. And we always look forward to all of the new tools and new features that are going to appear in the latest update. But before we get into all that, though, let's give Tim a little chance here to talk about himself for all our new listeners. So, Tim, what is your formal role over at Autodesk, and what areas do you oversee there?
Well, okay, so maybe before talking about my role, I'll explain a little bit more broad look at my team. So I'm part of the civil infrastructure product management team. And so we have several product managers like myself, and each of us look after a specific product in our product line. And each of us also looks after a particular industry segment, such as roads and highways and rail and civil structures. The first of the two hats that I wear is I look after the drainage and land development segments. And so what that means is I'm responsible for our product roadmap for how we build our products in a way that will make them the best in class for design and analysis of drainage systems. And so the second hat that I wear is that of, as you said, Civil 3D product manager. And what that means is I have to work to balance the overall Civil 3D releases and the overall product roadmap of that product to best satisfy the requirements across all those different industry segments that we work through. So it's a lot of negotiation with the other PMs on my team, as well as with our overall customer base, to make sure that everybody's happy in some way, shape, or form. And I do my best to keep everybody happy, but it's a bit of an uphill battle.
So you mean they don't just let you do whatever you want?
They kind of don't, no.
So I got to see how they figure that. Rocco always does whatever he wants.
Not everybody can be Rocco.
Ah, that's true. That's true. Thank God for that. All right. So, the best way to kind of break down a new release, I think, is to kind of, start at the top and kind of work our way down. So let's begin with kind of a general overview of, where Autodesk has gone this year in the infrastructure space. And then we'll get into some of the specific feature details that I like. So, having, Tim here to guide us is great, since, like he said, he's the guy kind of, leading the charge, kind of year over year on implementing customer requests and resolving issues and what's the right roadmap to take, and all of the stuff that Autodesk is pulling out of their civil roadmap. So Tim, what are, at the high level, right? What are some of the big highlights of the Civil 3D 2025 release?
I'd say that three key areas we focused on this year have been major enhancements to the coordinate system workflows, making quarter modeling more efficient, and improving the performance of Civil 3D overall. There are also a ton of resolutions to customer reported issues, as well as a bunch of great new stuff that we inherited for free from the AutoCAD team, which is always awesome. And then, so, I mean, 3 things plus AutoCAD might not sound like a lot, but I mean, keep in mind that we release updates to our products year round. So these days, the annual release tends to be more of a platform, and while the updates to that platform tend to have the bigger, more exciting new features and functional improvements. So whether it's an annual release or an update, our goal is to have a release every quarter. So there's always more coming in a couple months.
Okay, that's good to know. And I agree with that. I will say that you guys have done a good job of, every single release, right? There was a time when we were doing just like the standalone desktop, licensing structures where the big yearly release was all we had to look forward to. And now with the annual subscriptions, you're getting 4 presents. It's like having divorced parents. I'm getting 4 presents instead of just one.
Never heard of it kind of like put that way, but that's an interesting perspective.
I always have a unique view of things. So, all right, Rocco, kind of talk about this. Right? I know that in some industries, right, folks don't always update to the new release right away, right? I mean, is that what you're seeing in Civil, or do you find that people tend to move up pretty quickly to the current Civil 3D release and the Civil 3D processes?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because I think even a year or 2 ago, the answer would have been much different. But I'm finding in the daily conversations that more and more folks are, I wouldn't say that they're right on the curve with what's coming out, but they're on 2023, they're on 2024. I'm not hearing as much, hey, we're on Civil 3D 2018 or Civil 3D 2008. I mean, I think folks are realizing, right. I mean, I think that they're realizing that, hey, not only are we paying a lot of money to be current, but there's a reason why we're paying to be current, and so we should be utilizing some of these features, because there have been a lot of changes. I mean, Tim is just highlighting what's in 2025, but you go back and even listen to some of our older podcasts. There's a lot of features that have been added within the past couple of releases. So it definitely makes sense to be more current, if not 100% current.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I see from the tech end too. People are definitely moving up more quickly than they used to, which is good. All right, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just on a call actually earlier today with one of our largest enterprise customers, and they had the same kind of reaction where it was like, we're on, I think their primary versions that are using are 22 and 24, but we did a briefing with them recently with their execs, and they were like, well, we showed them kind of what everything is happening in 25 and all the performance improvements that we've made, and how that's like, hey, it's free. It's basically kind of a free, there's nothing really that you have to train your users on for like performance improvements. It's just kind of free money. And they're like, maybe we should start thinking about getting up to speed on like adopting the new versions more quickly, because it just doesn't make sense. They're spending all this money with us, and they might as well get on the latest stuff and take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. And like you said, and it's free money, and free money is the best money. We all like that,
Absolutely.
So you might as well take it when you can get it. So I was taking a look at the 25 release, and I really saw, one area that it just hasn't been touched in like a dog's age. And it got a little bit of love from your team this year, Tim, and that's the coordinate system structures. And I think that's a great focus, and I think it's long overdue. So I'm really excited about it, as I'm betting all of our survey folks are going to be too. So Tim, what's with the new coordinate systems, right? And what kind of prompted you improve them this go around?
So, I mean, we modernized the entire coordinate system workflow. So there's this entirely new dialog box that's going to help you assign coordinate systems to a drawing. It's pretty slick. Big highlights of this are that not only can you easily assign for horizontal like you have been in the past, but it also supports letting you assign a vertical datum for accurately controlling your design elevations. So really good stuff there. You can also assign a coordinate system while you're creating a DEM surface, which is pretty cool stuff. And then finally, we expanded the library of available coordinate systems just based on feedback that we gotten from a bunch of our customers. We did a lot of research on what some of the significant gaps were in which sort of coordinate systems we had supported. And so we took that into account and built a whole slew of new systems into the catalog. So a lot of good stuff happening there. It's still an area that we're going to be focusing on for the next foreseeable future, just building that out and just giving it some long overdue love, as you mentioned, Jim.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, it's such an important part of what we do, and not that there was anything wrong with what you had, but it's been quite a while since you had the update. So I think catching it up to the latest GeoInfo, and a smoother user interface, I think was a huge benefit. So yeah, look, for myself, I think I spent most of my career in the civil space doing subdivision and road design, right? Those are always big things for me. So the first thing I'm always looking at in any new release is what changes have been made to the corridor processes. I love corridors, right? They can be adapted to just so many processes in the infrastructure world. I mean, going far beyond just roads, right? Which is what most people think of. But if you learn how to use them, you can do so much more with them. And I think it's one of the most vital tools in the Civil 3D environment, and one that it's still underutilized by a lot of the design firms out there. So, Tim, what about the corridors in 25? What's new on that front?
Yeah, well, over the past several releases, we've done a whole bunch of enhancements to make corridor modeling workflows in Civil 3D more efficient. So, I mean, we've tried to take as many of the picks and clicks out of a lot of the common workflows so that you can really model complex corridors more quickly and without needing as much supporting geometry and custom subassemblies and stuff like that. So a lot of the newer workflows for things like corridor targeting and transitions and the subassembly management workflow, these are all really good examples of this. But then for 2025, we made it way easier to add multiple baselines when you're creating a corridor initially. So if you've ever built a corridor in Civil 3D, and sounds like you have, Jim. So
just a few.
One or two, yeah. So you know that when you create a corridor, you have to you launch the command, you create the corridor, and you pick either a feature line or alignment and a profile as the baseline. Then you pick an assembly, and that's great. But then you have to do that over and over and over and over again for every baseline that you need to add to the corridor. So if your corridor has a lot of baselines, which most of them do, then there's tons of picking and clicking through a whole bunch of dialog boxes, and it's super tedious. So we fixed that so that now in 2025, when you create a corridor, you can now basically window select baselines from the drawing. It lets you filter down if there are feature lines in that whole window selection, you can filter down which feature lines you want as baselines. So if you want to kind of say, I only want the feature lines that are on this layer or of this style, you can kind of pick and choose what you want. And then really from there, it's just you can assign subassemblies to them if you want, and then just blast a complex corridor into the drawing really in seconds, whereas it used to take a long time to get there. And I mean, there's still cleanup that you have to do of the regions to kind of do some fine tuning, but I mean, overall, it's a way more efficient way to get started. My go-to use case for this whole workflow is using if you have designing a parking lot made up of feature lines as the curbs and the islands and stuff like that. You can just grab them all the islands at once, pick a curb assembly to wrap around them, and then you're off and running. So much, much, much more efficient workflow.
Yeah. That is exactly where I would see it. I see it that way. And the other place, the transportation guys are going to love you when they're doing the big, north and southbound lanes of interstates and stuff where you got 5 or 6 baselines on each side and divided roads. That's a brilliant addition. I love that. All right, and like I said, that's a fun addition, right? We like those kind of tools, but there's always the boring but vitally important side of any new release discussion. And there are always these performance improvements that we want to talk about. And I know, right, they're always text sounding, and they're as much fun as, Rocco reading Shakespeare at a church revival meeting, which is really sad. I've been there. But it's important stuff for us to understand, right? So that we know, what processes, that we can use now in a much faster and more stable way. So simple question, Tim, right? What performance changes did you guys focus on in 2025?
Well, I mean, first, Jim, I have to humbly disagree. Performance is super exciting. I mean, it is. It's exciting. Like I said earlier, I mean, performance it's straight money. You don't have to train users how it works. It just lets you get a job done faster, just doing what you've always done previously. Historically, it's been our number one Civil 3D customer satisfaction issue, and it frustrated users before just because waiting for Civil 3D to rebuild a quarter or even open a drawing, it costs time. Time's money. So we've done a bunch of several years, and then we've kept on this for Civil 3D 2025. And I mean, back to quarters first. I mean, we made overall quarter processing faster. And I mean, outside of that, just a subtle fix that adds up a lot is that the quarter editing dialog boxes load a lot more quickly. So just like when you open up the quarter properties dialog box, for example, you're not waiting for it forever to load for a complex quarter. It's just snappier overall. So I mean, like you said, you might think it's boring, but I think that's exciting. Getting into that quarter properties dialog box faster. Come on. Who doesn't love that?
I'll say it's important. I will agree with you. It is hands down. That's why I brought it. It is always the most important thing, because a 10-second change on one command or one process over the course of the year can be hundreds and hundreds of hours of aggravation saved, no doubt.
Absolutely.
But I don't know that it's exciting to talk about it though.
We could agree to disagree. I think
all right, fair enough. All right, I tell you what, folks, let's take a break here to listen to today's sponsor. And when we get back, I want to get into more Civil 3D changes and updates in the 2025 release. So stand by. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco. So we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No one wants to talk about you. Not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about Zentek Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like Zentek Tech Blocks. Zentek Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on Zentek's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right. So Zentek Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, zentekconsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459. Or even drop us an email, sales@zentekconsultants.net.
All right, Zentek Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. We're talking with Tim Yarris of Autodesk about the drop of the 2025 product line. And we are particularly focusing on the civil space, which is what Tim handles. And I want to continue with a few more of the infrastructure-focused updates. But I also want to get into a little bit of the kind of the overall Autodesk 2025 changes, right, that span multiple platforms and some of the bigger program changes we're seeing or are likely to see as more of the 2025 products come online. So, Tim, one more specific process that I wanted to hit on because it's something that we all use every day is surfaces. All right, that's always a huge customer ask, right? What changes did you guys make for surfaces in 2025?
We made a bunch of improvements to surface performance. So, I mean, stepping back, in recent years, a lot of customers ask us why Civil 3D doesn't leverage multiple cores in modern computers, right? I mean, over the years, we've incrementally been improving areas of the product to leverage some of those multiple cores where it makes the most sense. And in the case of surfaces and Civil 3D 2025, we multi-threaded the process for contour regeneration. So, I mean, larger surfaces are built and regenerated way more quickly than before. So that's one. Another thing customers have asked for, or they don't ask for us, they ask us about how can we fix things all the time is the dreaded MMS files. Yeah, you chuckle because you know. Yeah, they're a necessary evil, but they're a total pain to manage. So, I mean, in Civil 3D 2025, we made a bunch of changes so that, I mean, first, a surface's MMS file won't update if there's no geometry change to a surface. And then if a deref surface is using an MMS file, then that, let's see, what is it? The deref surface doesn't update if the host drawing is saved. So, I mean, it's much more intelligent about when an MMS file is updated. It's not just like an over and over and over again every time that you save like the drawing. It's not like the MMS file updates anymore. So it's a lot more efficient. Next thing on the surfaces front, a big user experience update and also a performance update on the surface front is we did a total overhaul of the old surface level of detail mode. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with that, if you've used it in the past.
Oh yeah, I have, no doubt.
Okay. So, I mean, we created that mode years ago with the overarching intention of it was just giving you the ability to set the surface to a lower level of detail when you weren't actively modeling the surface and you wanted better performance. So we made this overall in 2025 way more performant than it had been and more predictable and stable. And big thing that we did here is we made it so that you can set the level of detail mode on a surface by surface basis. So it's not just like an overarching, like every surface in your drawing is going into level of detail mode.
Oh, interesting.
So you can do it one by one. And then you can actually see in the prospector tree which surfaces have it set. So, yeah, it's a bit easier to use, a bit more predictable. And I mean, if you've tried this mode in the past and you got frustrated with it because it was a little bit on the confusing side, I mean, give it another try. It's a great way to improve the overall drawing performance just by using this little tool.
Yeah. No, that's good. Like I said, I've used it in the past, and it wasn't the easiest thing to use, but I would do it to drop out like existing surfaces and things that weren't, taking out, a lot of changes, didn't need updates to just help, kick performance. So yeah, it's something I will definitely be looking at.
Nice.
All right. So I tell you what, look, as we all know, right, Autodesk didn't just drop Civil 3D in 2025. It's put out almost all of its 2025 product line, or is about to. I'm not sure if everything is out yet. And that means for those of us who work, cross-platform or with the AEC collection of tools, the impact of changes to other systems like base AutoCAD, those can have a really big impact on our daily work as well. Particularly, I think, AutoCAD. So what about that? What about AutoCAD, Tim? Did Civil folks get any good benefits out of the 2025 AutoCAD updates?
Absolutely. I mean, we love the great stuff that we get for free from AutoCAD. We get it every year, and we're always happy to have that good stuff. But I mean, this year, we got a lot of good things like, first, the ability to sync markups and use Esri base maps on the geolocation tabs instead of just the old Bing maps. It's another benefit from the whole partnership that Autodesk has had with Esri over the last few years. So we're finally getting their base maps with Civil, which is an awesome thing. Yeah. AutoCAD, they have this real new activity insights tool that we can use in Civil 3D, and this tracks events that happens in the drawing, like basically things like when a drawing is opened, different types of edits that take place over the course of the drawing being worked on, when the drawing is referenced into another drawing or other drawings are referenced into it, and plenty of other different kind of events like that. So just a good way to kind of keep like a rolling tally of what happens over the course of a drawing, and good way to kind of find when things could potentially be going wrong with the drawing as well. Finally, AutoCAD's also been working on performance. They made huge improvements to the performance of the hatch workflow. So that was one of their big customer satisfaction issues, was that, if you've worked with AutoCAD hatches in the past, it was kind of slow.
Really kind of sometimes, yeah.
Really slow. It was pretty rough. Huge improvements to that. And then other things like, just basic things that, like you said, might not necessarily be the most exciting things, but like 2D drawing files open twice as fast as they had in previous releases, which is a pretty big deal. So productivity, and just overall, just shout out to the AutoCAD team for the great work that they've done just making AutoCAD better, and it helps Civil 3D customers as well. So love it.
Yeah, always good when we can steal some free stuff.
Right on.
So Rocco, in terms of kind of Autodesk use, right? Do most of our clients work exclusively in Civil 3D, or are they using the AEC collection and spanning multiple platforms and including AutoCAD and what they're doing?
Most of the folks we talk to are using the core. It's AutoCAD, Civil 3D, Revit. That doesn't mean that the other products in the suite are not being used. It's just in our day-to-day conversations, those are the three, and that they're getting the most benefit from.
Okay, so you're saying folks aren't just getting Civil 3D; they are using like the collections and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I see too. So, all right. I tell you what though here. So one big item that my tech staff here, and I warned him I was going to ask him about this, has been asking me, been bugging me about and asking me about on the new Civil 3D release is the status of the storm and sanitary analysis tools. That's been a big component of Civil 3D for years. And it's an arena that we do a ton of work configuring and training clients on. So right away, my folks noticed its absence in the initial Civil 3D 2025 release, and they hounded me to bug Tim about it when he was on the show. So hound you I shall, Tim. What is going on with SSA? It is nowhere to be found in the list of tools that I can download for Civil 3D 25.
Yet. So
well, yes, that's your answer. Thanks for coming today, folks.
No, I'm not done yet. So I mean, that there are a whole slew of different extensions that we have for Civil 3D. So things like there's SSA, there's like the geotechnical module, there's all sorts of different things that we release every year. Shape tool, you name it. So over time, I mean, we generally have this whole process where we have to bring those extensions forward into the new version every year, right? So, I mean, sometimes some of those extensions kind of lag behind the global launch of the core product. And I mean, this year is one thing where one of the improvements that we made to Civil 3D this year, and actually all of the Autodesk products is, I mean, we're going to go deep into the geeky weeds of software development, but basically there's this underlying .NET technology that Civil 3D and all of our products leverage pretty heavily, and the version of .NET that we had been using for our products was not the most current. So basically we went through this whole huge process to update to the most recent .NET framework in Civil 3D and all the products. And so it's a more kind of secure, more stable, more performant version of this technology. But as a result of that, any extensions or any third-party tools that are used within Civil 3D all have to also be updated to that new .NET framework. So basically, that's where a lot of these kind of things are a little bit slower than they usually had been. But I mean, specifically on the SSA front, I mean, we haven't forgotten about SSA. Right around this podcast is posted, we're going to have SSA 2024.1 that's going to be available for use with Civil 3D 2025 and Map 3D 2025. It's not SSA 25 because we didn't make any functional changes to it from 2024. We're simply making a 2024 SSA 2024 compatible with Civil 3D 2025 and Map 3D 2025, and so you'll be able to find that as well as other extensions for 25 as they start trickling out on each product's 2025 extensions page. So I hope that helps. I hope the hounding worked, but
as long as they have an answer, you know that it is coming. We should be okay.
We haven't forgotten about it.
Nice. Cool. So, okay, I tell you what, as always, there are things that are going on over at Autodesk that, Tim knows about that I am either unaware of or just too dumb to ask him about. So I always want to give a guest, a chance to talk about important items that I didn't hit on before we close out the show. So Tim, what else do you think that folks should know about either 2025 or future plans that you guys have running that we didn't get to today?
I'd say the most important thing is to stay involved with our product team and just make sure people keep giving us their feedback on how we can make our products better. Other times I've been on the cattle call, I've mentioned the Civil 3D public roadmap. That's where you can go see what we have on our radar and vote for what's most important to you and add comments to what's important to you. And then if you want a deeper look into the inner workings of the infrastructure product team, go to feedback.autodesk.com and join the Autodesk Infrastructure Futures program. And this is our ongoing beta, but also feedback program where we can give more behind the scenes details about what's actively under development. So, I mean, you sign a non-disclosure agreement when you join this program that lets us be a bit more forthcoming about what it is that we're working on. And we even do weekly webcasts to show folks kind of what's in work and then actually get their feedback on it live so that we can course correct things as needed. things like, I mean, all the stuff that we talked about just a couple minutes ago between the all the multiple baseline quarter improvements and the coordinate system improvements. We went over those pretty exhaustively on our weekly webcast series and got a lot of really great feedback that we incorporated into the final release of it. So yeah, I mean, just overall, just don't be shy, folks. I mean, let us know what you think, stay involved with us, and just to help us make things better.
Nice. You know, it's like the lottery, right? What do you say? You got to be in it to win it. It's the same thing with the Civil Roadmap. You got to be on it to get anything you want. So
absolutely,
don't hesitate. Yeah, that's a great.
One of our previous guy that I used to work with had, like, I always get a chuckle because one of his favorite things, what was it? He said, you only have to report the defects that you want fixed. In that, like, we can't read your minds. I mean, we definitely want to make things better, but you have to tell us what you want. So we're all ears.
Yeah, because look, the reality is, right, they wouldn't have put it out with a defect or something missing if they had recognized it out of the gate.
Yeah.
They need us to give them that feedback. So get out there, get on the Civil Roadmap. Let Tim and his guys know what you guys want.
Yeah, please.
Awesome. All right. So with that, we're going to get out of here. But again, I want to just take a minute to thank you, Tim, for being here yet again. It is always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. You're always informative and very entertaining and patient with both Rocco and I.
I take that as high praise.
So, all righty, folks. With that, we're out of here, and we'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.